Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is me, Mysterious Cameraman, and today I'm going to be talking about Gotham Season 1. So, I've done this for The Flash, I've done this for Arrow, I'm in the middle of doing it for DC Legends, but now we're on to Gotham. And I'm taking a little bit of a break from DC Legends. I feel like I need to watch some good TV for once. But now that we're on to this show, one of my favorite shows of all time, I don't feel right just going through the episodes and explaining why each one's good. I can do that for decent shows like DC Legends. But for an absolute masterpiece like this show, I'm just going to talk about the season. I'm not going to have the episode list in front of me. So, before we get into it, if you haven't checked out Fan Film Finder, it's a very simple Google form. If you have any fan films you want me to review, just submit it to the forum and I'll get to them as soon as I can. But yeah, let's jump into the video. Let's talk about Gotham Season 1. I will say, the first impressive thing is the show runs throughout 100 episodes. And I know IMDb is not always correct about this, but it states that 8 characters appear in all 100 episodes of the show. And I don't think that's accurate, but that's impressive, that the majority of the lead cast appear in practically the entire show. And I think that's very impressive, especially when it comes to what this show eventually deals with. I think that's an extremely impressive feat, which also shows how dedicated some of these actors are to the show. I get that you can make the joke that the show doesn't always deserve the dedication it gets, but I think that it's perfectly, I love this season. I will say, compared to some of the later seasons, Gotham Season 1's probably one of the worst. But I will say that once I get to the episode 3 point, I'm right back into it. Especially when you hear that dun 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 and the title card. I'm in. That's it. I'm hooked. Congratulations, you bought 5 seasons of me watching this again. Sorry, that's it. That's all you need to show me. That's all I need to hear. But that, I've seen this. I started watching this for the first time in 6th grade, and that was a few years ago. And I think I've watched, this is my 6th or 7th rewatch since then. This show is part of me. This is part of my soul. And it's just incredible. I love Jim. Let's just begin there. Ben McKenzie as Jim Gordon. Everyone knows is incredible. He is so good in this role. He is an incredible main character. And he actually feels like he has motivation. He wants to clean up the GCPD. He doesn't need people. The majority of this show, especially in the season, he is on his own. He's not working with people. He's doing this his own way. Unlike Arrow when he needed the team, unlike Flash when he needs the team, this is Jim doing on his own. Sure, he has a partner, but Jim really does a lot of what he does. Just him. He runs into battle on his own. And let's focus on episode 7 for a second. Once he gets in trouble and has to send Barbara out of town for not killing Penguin, it's like Dark Knight, Batman Begins type things. Once he doesn't do that, he then runs, what happens? Oh, right, he attacks, Falcone. He full on, goes to arrest him. This isn't a character that's just trying to clean up the cities and there's, a few villains to fight each week. He's dedicating his life. His sole purpose is to make Gotham good again and make it a new day for Gotham. And he's just an incredible main character to watch. You can't not enjoy watching Jim Gordon. It's impossible. He's such a good main character. And even if you want to move past him, you can look at Bullock. Bullock, I will say, never has been, my favorite character in the show because Jim is, but he's still so fun. Even him, he is a rundown old cop who doesn't want to risk his life for the city. He is part of the corrupt system. He's willing to help uncorrupt it, but overall he's part of the corruption. And it is such an interesting thing to see him learn how to go back to his roots and be a good cop again. And seeing him work with Jim throughout this series is so good. And especially in those early parts of Season 2, which I'll get to in the Season 2 video. But he does, yeah, he wants to be married and stuff like that, but he needs to be a cop. It's part of him. And he wants to help people, even though he doesn't do it always the right way. He always wants to help people. And it's just it's just so good. Like, it is such a good way to make Jim, Jim has nowhere to turn. Who's next? Let's move on to Bruce Wayne and Alfred. Both of them are good. I will say that compared to the rest of the show, their plots, I'll say, is probably very rarely actually interesting to me. I will say once they get to the Ra's al Ghul stuff in season 3 and 4, I do like that a lot more. I'll say my favorite episode of the show is in season 4, and that's the finale, but everyone loves that one. But I will say overall, I like a lot of what Bruce does. I don't ever love Bruce, though. I feel like overall, he's always like a good, but he's never a great character. I feel like a lot of the times when he's in the show, he's kind of like a good character, but I never felt like, I'm talking about Bruce, so I want to make that clear, and Alfred, I guess. I think they're both good actors, and I feel like Alfred always has a standout performance. And I think as the show goes on, Bruce gets more interesting. But compared to the crime stuff that Jim is doing, I don't care as much about what Bruce is doing. And as much as I love Bruce, and as much as I think what he's doing is a lot of times extremely interesting, compared to the cop stuff and the crime that's going on, it feels like it's kind of taking away from the plot at times. There are times that I feel like it's good. I will say there are times I enjoy it, but there are times I'm like waiting for the plot to get back to Jim. But that could also be Jim just such a good part of the show. That goes the same for Alfred, really. But I feel like Alfred's a little more strong when it comes to... He's a stronger actor, especially in the first season. Let's move on to Penguin. Penguin's incredible. The actor portraying Penguin makes me like hate the character so much. And it makes me feel uncomfortable when he's on stage. Like, it makes me uncomfortable. But, like, that's what the character's supposed to do. And he is so good. His entire plot of the first season, I think, is probably the strongest plot throughout the first season. As good as Jim is, he doesn't have an arc, necessarily. Penguin goes from being at the bottom in episode 1 to episode 22 when he's the king of Gotham. And it's impressive. Like, especially if you watch it fully through. Like, how much everything changes for him, and how he's able to predict everything going on, and how he backstabs Maroni, and then backstabs Falcone. Like, he really was a strategic genius. Sure, he isn't able to run Gotham, and I think part of the reason why he isn't is because he isn't able... I don't think Penguin really could run Gotham as good, nearly as Maroni or Falcone, but he is able to see... He has, like, a clairvoyance, almost. And it makes the character very interesting, especially in those early episodes when he's predicting what's going to happen and it happens. Like, he has such a strong arc throughout the first season. And another person with a strong arc is Riddler. Enigma is probably one of my favorite characters in the show as well. He is such a strong performance at the start. He has an energy that you just love. And he's just such a fun character, and he's like pushed around and all this stuff, but it's good. And I actually do really enjoy his arc throughout this first season. Unlike the Bruce thing, I feel like this is actually very good. I like him with Flask, I think, and seeing how he reacts to that. And I will say that Flask episode, probably one of my favorite episodes of the whole season. I love that episode, especially with Jim like going up against that. That was one of my favorite episodes. But I feel like Ed's so good, and especially when Officer Doherty comes into the show and he has to kill him, I like that too. I will say, I don't like when he starts going insane. And I'll get into that more later. I do like it the way it was, but I am excited to see once Ed gets into the Riddler, that's when he's at his best. The Riddler is so good in those later seasons, so I'm very excited to see that. But until we get to that point, like, now let's move on to Lee. I love Lee in this early season. I'm excited when I get to season 3 when she has her married to the doctor arc. And then season 4, I believe, is her Queen the Narrows arc. And then season 5, she's back to doing other stuff. I like Lee throughout this whole show. I will say, unlike some characters, and unlike most characters, I think Lee's actually strongest in this season. I think that her character is extremely good at this point in her life, and especially being the lighthearted person for Jim. I feel like this is when she's actually strongest in the book. And yeah, I know Gotham isn't a book. I know it's a show, but during these reviews, I think you know by now that I kind of just talk. I don't really I don't have a script in front of me. I kind of just talk about, because I feel like a script feels too scripted. Obviously, that's what a script is. But, yeah. So, what was that on? Yeah, we're on to the next topic. I just think Lee is very good in those early seasons, but she gets worse as it goes on. But next, I think we are on Falcone and Maroni now. It's been a few hours since that last take. But yeah, I think I really like the overall season plot. I do like Falcone in this. I like Maroni. I think they really do a good job at making you hate certain characters in this. Like, I feel like Maroni feels more like a crime boss than Falcone, but this is the version of Falcone they're going for, and I'm fully for it. It's not for me like, oh, this isn't comic accurate Falcone, throw this in the gutter, because I disagree with that. I just think that this Falcone fits the story better. And overall, I just think this Falcone and Maroni in this crime story is overall just very interesting and very fun. And those are the types of stories that I want to see continue throughout the show. And of course, I know it does. But, I feel like this is such a good first season. And what I do like is that Jim isn't actually fighting the villains throughout the main course. That's something that a lot of shows do. It's like a villain versus hero type thing throughout the whole season. But in Gotham Season 1, which is very interesting, it actually feels like Penguin is the main hero of the full season plot, and Maroni and Falcone are the villains, and then Jim kind of comes in to help throughout it. Like, he's like a side character in it and really comes in at the end. But I feel like Penguin's the most involved in it, and I feel like that's good. If Jim really was so involved in this, it wouldn't make sense that he's trying to clean up Gotham, because he would be so entangled in this. In later seasons, it makes sense how entangled he is in with the main plot. But I actually like that the episode before the finale is just like a normal episode. Like, I feel like it's a very strong way and a very bold choice they made, but I feel like it was the right choice at the end of the day. And I feel like overall, this season was just very strong. I feel like every episode that had a villain of the week type thing was very strong. I feel like there weren't any weak villain of the weeks. I feel like each one was interesting, it was fun, it was creative. And that's, at the end of the day, what I want to see from this stuff. Like, I want to see the creative and fun villains. I don't want to see the boring ones. And I really thought we got this here. And I think, especially like those ending episodes, I think it gets better as it goes on. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this season. I can go on for days about it, but I don't want to make you guys sit here forever. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. See you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.